I started working at the gas station in August 2023 when I was 24 years old. It was a small gas station on Interstate 15 between Las Vegas and Salt Lake City, in the middle of nowhere. The nearest town was 40 kilometers away. During the day, truckers, tourists, and families on trips would pass through. At night, almost no one. I was studying engineering during the day. I needed the money. The night shift paid $22 an hour, from 11 at night to 7 in the morning. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Most nights were quiet, reading, studying, cleaning, maybe 5 or 6 customers per shift, until the evening of September 12th. It was a Tuesday, 1 in the morning. No cars had stopped in the last 2 hours. Then I saw headlights, a dark blue sedan. It stopped at pump 3. A man came out, maybe 35 years old, gray jacket, jeans, nothing special. He didn't refuel. He came straight to the store. He went inside. He looked around. He saw me at the counter. I said, "Good evening, can I help you?" He didn't answer. He just walked to the back of the store, to the bathroom. He went in. He locked the door. I went back to my book. 15 minutes have passed. 20 minutes. 30 minutes. I started to find it strange. Nobody spends that much time in a gas station bathroom. I went to the door. I knocked. I said, "Is everything all right there?" Silence. I hit it again. I heard water running. The tap. He said, "I'm fine." I went back to the counter. 15 more minutes. I went to the door again. I knocked harder. I said, "Sir, I need you to leave. I'm going to close the bathroom for cleaning." That's a lie, but I wanted him to leave. No response. The water was still flowing. I got the master key. Company policy. We can open it in emergencies. I unlocked it. I pushed the door. The bathroom was empty, completely empty. The tap was open. Water was running, but nobody was there. I looked behind the door. Nothing. The bathroom had no window, an entrance, the one I was blocking. He shouldn't have left. I turned off the tap. I went out. I locked it again. I went back to the counter, confused. I looked at the parking lot. The blue sedan was still there at pump 3. I stood watching, waiting for him to return to the car. 2 hours have passed. 3 in the morning. The car was still there, empty. Then I saw the same man coming out from behind the building, walking towards the car. How did he get out of the gas station? I was at the counter the whole time. The only way out was through the front. He got in the car. He started the engine. He drove away. I stood there trying to understand. 2 days later, Thursday, my next shift. 1 in the morning again. The blue sedan is back. Same man, same gray jacket. He went into the store. He went straight to the bathroom. My heart raced. I waited 10 minutes. I went to the door. I knocked. No response. Water running. I opened it with the master key. Empty again. I left quickly. I went to the back of the building. I looked for exits, windows, anything, nothing. Just a solid wall. I went back inside. The sedan was still in the parking lot. It's 3:15 in the morning. He appeared again. Coming from behind the building. He got in the car. He drove away. On Saturday, my next shift, I was prepared. I brought my cell phone with the camera ready. I put my laptop on the counter. I had access to the gas station security cameras. 1 in the morning. Blue sedan. He went inside. He went to the bathroom. I opened the camera feed. 4 cameras. Parking lot, counter, product aisle, and restroom entrance. The camera showed the hallway. Him entering the men's restroom. I watched it in real time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. He didn't leave. I went there. I knocked on the door. Water running, shelter, empty. I ran back to the laptop. I reviewed the recording. He went into the bathroom 1 minute and 20 seconds ago. I advanced frame by frame. He enters, the door closes, the door never opens again, but he's not in there. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I had an idea. I grabbed my laptop. I went to the back office. I accessed the archive of old recordings. I returned 3 weeks later. That's when I started working. I searched for Tuesdays, 1 in the morning. Tuesday, August 22nd, 1 past 5 in the morning. Blue sedan. Same man, same routine. Tuesday, August 29th, 1 past 3 in the morning. Blue sedan. Same man. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. 1 in the morning. Exactly. I went further back in the archive. July, June, May. Same standard. He had been coming here for months, always on my shift, always 1 in the morning, always the bathroom. Why? It's 3:10 in the morning. I checked the parking lot via the cameras. He was coming out from behind the building, going to the car. I ran outside. I screamed. I said, "Hey, wait!" He stopped. He turned around. He looked directly at me. He walked over to where I was. He stopped a meter away. I said, "Who are you? How are you doing this?" He stared at me, expressionless. Then she said, in a calm voice, "You should stop looking for me." I felt my blood run cold. I asked, "What do you mean? You're the one who comes here every night." He replied, "Not every night, only when you're here." "Why?" He looked at the building, then back at me. "I didn't choose you. You see me because you're paying attention. Most people don't." I said, "I don't understand. What do you want?" He took a step back. "Nothing. I just need to do what I always do. Go in, stay, go out. What can I do? You disappear." He smiled. "For the first time, I'm not disappearing. I'm just not where you're looking for me anymore." He got into the car. I yelled, "Wait!" He started the car. He rolled down the window. He looked at me one last time. "Stop searching. It will be better for you." And he left. I stood there, alone, in the empty parking lot. The next day, I went to the gas station manager. I told him everything. He listened. Then he sighed. He took me to the office. He showed me an old file, incident reports, September 20th, 2020. 3 years ago, a man committed suicide in the gas station bathroom. He cut his wrists and left the water running. It was found by the night shift attendant, 1:40 a.m. The manager showed me an old photo of the man. It was him. Gray jacket, same age, same face. The manager said, 3 night shift attendants quit after that. They all reported the same thing. Customers go into the bathroom and disappear, always at 1 in the morning. I felt nauseous. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" He replied, "Because most people don't see it. You were the 4th in 3 years." I resigned that day. I got another job, day shift, less money, but I didn't mind. But there's something that still haunts me. 2 weeks after leaving, I passed by the gas station. During the day, driving home, we then Azul, parked at pump 3, in broad daylight. I stopped. I looked. The car was empty, but the driver's door was open, and on the driver's seat, there was a folded gray jacket. I drove away as fast as I could, and I never went back.
The order ticket didn't flutter. It hung heavy on the wire, weighed down by the impossibility of the request itself. Rabbit stew with juniper berries and exactly 3 drops of vinegar. His mother's recipe. Thomas stood in the prison kitchen. Read the ticket again. Richard Potts, Block D, Cell 14. Execution scheduled for midnight. The paper trembled in his hands, not because of the ventilation system that rattled constantly, The tremor came from somewhere deeper, a place he had sealed shut 20 years ago. 3 drops of red wine vinegar. 1 for the living, 1 for the dead, 1 for God. His mother Rosa whispered this every time she made the stew, tracing the sign of the cross with flour-dusted fingers. An old country recipe brought from her grandmother's village, never written down. No one knew this detail, not the exact number of vinegar drops, not the whispered prayer. No one except the person who had been in her kitchen that final night. "Boss, you okay?" Rodriguez stood at the prep table, his knife suspended over a slab of government-issued beef. Thomas folded the ticket twice. "Out, everyone. Take your dinner break early, now." The kitchen emptied. Metal doors clanged shut. Thomas stood alone among stainless steel surfaces, reflecting his face back at him. He moved to the freezer. The rabbit was there. His hands worked without thought, gathering juniper berries from the spice rack, pulling out the roasting pot his mother would have recognized, the one he'd brought from home 15 years ago when he took this job, when he requested a transfer to the execution wing specifically, when he came here hunting ghosts, reading every incoming inmate file, searching for any connection to a Tuesday in November 20 years ago. And now, finally, he had found it. The rabbit hit the hot oil with a hiss that sounded like a confession. Thomas worked mechanically, browning the meat while his mind ran backward through time. His mother's kitchen had smelled like this. Rosemary from the garden. Bay leaves she dried herself. He glanced at the supply cabinet. Rat poison sat on the 3rd shelf, clearly labeled. 1 tablespoon would be enough. It would look like heart failure. Who would question the death of a condemned man 4 hours early? But he had to know. The juniper berries cracked beneath his knife, releasing their piney scent. His mother used to teach him to count them. 7 for luck, she said. Though her luck ran out on a Tuesday in November. Police found her body Wednesday morning, the kitchen window shattered, blood on the floor, the stew pot still warm on the stove. Thomas added the stock. The smell deepened, filling the industrial kitchen with something that didn't belong here. Something too intimate for a place built on schedules and regulations. He reached into his jacket pocket. The chocolate piece was wrapped in foil, dark as guilt, bitter as memory. This was the test. Rosa had never written this down, never told anyone but him. 1 piece melted into the stew at the very end to soften the acidity, to balance the sharpness of the juniper. If Richard Potts recognized the taste, if he paused, if he remembered, Thomas would have his answer. He stirred the chocolate into the stew, watching it dissolve into dark threads. Then he returned to the supply cabinet, opened it. The rat poison felt light in his palm. He twisted the lid. 20 years of rage condensed into this white powder. He held it over the pot. 1 shake, that was all it would take. His reflection rippled on the surface of the stew. His mother's eyes stared back at him. What would she see? Her son, or the echo of her killer? Thomas steadied his hand, closed the lid, returned the poison to its shelf. If Potts was guilty, the state would take him in 3 hours. And if he was innocent, the truth mattered more than revenge. He let the stew simmer slowly. Watch the clock. Exactly 3 hours, just as she taught him. 1 minute less, and the rabbit stayed tough. 1 minute more, and it fell apart. Like grief, she used to say. You have to time it right. Thomas stood in the observation booth. 3 screens showed different angles of cell D14. Guard Patterson slid the tray through the slot. On the black and white monitor, Richard Potts looked smaller than Thomas had imagined. Grey beard, narrow shoulders, hands trembling slightly as they held the spoon. Patterson said, adjusting his belt. Strange request. Usually they ask for fried chicken, pizza. This guy asked for rabbit stew. Thomas leaned closer to the screen. On the monitor, Potts lifted the bowl to his face, inhaled, closed his eyes. The first spoonful entered his mouth. Potts froze. The spoon clinked against the ceramic. Thomas leaned forward, expecting mockery, anticipating the satisfaction of a killer remembering his crime. Instead, Potts's shoulders began to shake. A tear rolled down his weathered cheek, visible even through the black and white feed. He ate slowly, the way people eat in church. Each bite seemed to cost him something. When he reached the bottom of the bowl, he ran his finger along the rim, collecting the last drops of broth. Then he rested his open palm on the empty ceramic and bowed his head. Thomas watched Potts fold something into a napkin, watched him return it with the tray. Patterson placed the tray on the steel table. The bowl was so clean it looked unused. Only the napkin, folded into a small square, proved anyone had eaten at all. Patterson said, "He said make sure the cook gets this." Then he left. Thomas opened the napkin. The handwriting was tight but clear. "The chocolate. You added it. She used to do that too." His knees nearly gave out. He gripped the table and kept reading. "I broke into her house that night 20 years ago, hungry, desperate. I had a knife. She found me in her kitchen, searching her cupboards. She didn't scream. She sat me down like I was her son. She fed me this stew. She said I wasn't a monster, just hungry. She said everyone deserves mercy." I left through the front door. I walked to the corner when I heard the glass break. I saw him climbing through the window she had locked. I heard her scream, a sound different from kindness. I was a coward. I ran. The man I killed 18 years ago, the one I'm dying for tonight, was him. I found him in a bar in Houston, bragging about an old woman he robbed up north, about how easy it was. I finished what I should have finished that night. Thank you for the meal. It saved me that night. I'm sorry I couldn't save her. The execution bell rang. Lights flickered across the complex as the generator kicked in. Thomas stood in his empty kitchen, surrounded by gleaming steel and the lingering scent of juniper. He picked up the empty bowl, carried it to the sink. Hot water ran over his hands as he washed it carefully, just as his mother taught him. Circular motions. Take your time. Make it clean. When he placed the bowl on the drying rack, steam still rising from its surface, the kitchen felt different. The ice of 20 years in his chest began to melt. For the first time since his mother's death, Thomas felt warmth. The empty plate caught the light, white as forgiveness.
Accepted the job as a nanny in October 2024 when I was 22 years old. I was in my final year of college in Portland. I needed extra money. A friend recommended me to a family in the suburbs. The Millers, a couple in their 40s, a 6-year-old daughter named Emma. It was my first night. My parents were going out to dinner. I would be there from 7 in the evening until midnight. The house was beautiful. 2 stories, attached garage, large backyard. Mrs. Miller showed me everything quickly. Kitchen, living room, Emma's bedroom on the 2nd floor, emergency numbers on the refrigerator. She said, "Emma is calm. She's already had dinner. You just need to put her to bed at 8:30. They left at 7:15. Emma was in the living room watching cartoons. Blonde hair, pink pajamas. Quiet. I sat next to her. I tried to start a conversation. I said, "That's a cool drawing. Do you like it?" She nodded. We remained silent for a few minutes. Then she spoke, without taking her eyes off the TV. "The man from the garage wants to talk to you. Re Nervosa." I said, "What man?" She replied, "The man who lives there." I thought it was a joke, a child's imagination. I said, "Oh, really? And what does he want?" Emma turned to me, serious. "He said you should go there." I felt a slight discomfort. I said, "Emma, there's nobody in the garage. It's just you and your parents who live here." She shook her head. "Yes, he does. He's lived there for a long time. I see him at night." My stomach tightened. I asked, "Did you tell your parents?" She said, "I told them. They said it's a dream." I looked at the door that led to the garage. It was in the kitchen. I got up. I went over there. The door was locked. I pressed my ear against it. Silence. I went back to the room. At 8:20, I took Emma to bed. She went upstairs ahead of me. Before entering the room, she stopped. Sometimes he comes up at night. He stands in the hallway just watching. I felt a chill. I said, "Emma, there's nobody here. Everything's fine." She went into the room. She lay down. I closed the door. I went back downstairs. I went to the kitchen. I looked at the garage door again. Children invent things, that's all, just imagination. But something was bothering me. I grabbed my cell phone. I turned on the flashlight. I opened the garage door. A staircase descended. I flipped the switch. The light came on. Empty garage, 2 cars, tools on the walls, bicycles. I went down the steps. I looked around. Everything was normal. Then I saw, in the corner, behind some boxes, a folded dirty blanket, empty food cans, a water bottle. My heart raced. Someone was sleeping there. I looked closer. The cans were fresh, clean labels. I heard a noise, coming from outside, from the outside of the garage, footsteps dragging on the sidewalk. I froze it. The footsteps stopped at the garage door. The big one, the one that led to the street. I heard the doorknob being tested. I ran up the stairs. I went into the kitchen. I locked the garage door. I picked up my cell phone. My hands were trembling. I called Mrs. Miller. He answered on the second ring. I said in a low voice, "Someone is living in your garage." Silence on the other end. Then her voice tense. "What do you mean?" I said, "Emma told me about a man. I thought it was my imagination. But there's a blanket down there. Food. Someone is living there." I heard her talking to her husband, muffled voices. She turned back. "Get out of the house. Now, take Emma and leave." "But now, let's call the police. Don't just stand there." I hung up. I ran upstairs. I opened Emma's bedroom door. I said, "Emma, we need to go out. Come with me." She sat on the bed, calm. "Is it because of the man?" I picked her up. I went downstairs. I heard a noise coming from the garage, wood creaking, someone forcing the inside door, the door that I had locked. I ran to the front door. I unlocked it. I went out. I crossed the garden. I went to the sidewalk. I looked back. The front door was still open, light on. I waited. Emma in my arms. 3 minutes later, sirens, 2 patrol cars, 4 police officers. They entered the house, weapons drawn. 5 minutes later, they left, with a man in handcuffs, tall, thin, long beard, dirty clothes. He looked at me, then at Emma. He smiled. A police officer came to talk to me. He took me to the patrol car. He explained the man was living in the garage, going in and out while the family slept for 2 months. He stole food. He used the bathroom. He watched. They found photos in his blanket, family photos taken inside the house, photos of Emma sleeping. The police officer said he confessed. He said he came in every night. He would stay in the hallway just watching. I felt nauseous. The Millers arrived 15 minutes later, pale. They hugged Emma. They paid me. They thanked me. They apologized. I drove home in silence. I never worked as a babysitter again. And every night before going to sleep, I checked my garage. Because if it happened to them, it could happen to me.